I wanted to talk about this because the latest global workplace numbers say only 1 in 5 employees feels engaged at work, and managers shape much of that experience. So when the person doing the least useful work somehow ends up supervising everyone doing the real work, it isn't just an office joke. One bad promotion can slow a team, drive good people out, and make bad decisions look official. Why do useless people keep getting promoted? They flatter the right person, speak confidently in meetings, take credit at the correct moment, and somehow rise like a balloon while everyone else carries the furniture. That happens, but it isn't the whole explanation. The deeper problem is that most companies promote people for being good at one job, then place them into a completely different job. A brilliant salesperson is good at finding clients, handling rejection, negotiating, and closing deals. A sales manager needs to coach weaker performers, settle arguments, forecast results, assign accounts fairly, and sometimes tell a former teammate that their work isn't good enough. Those are not higher versions of the same skill. They're different skills. Yet the promotion often says, "You sold the most, so now you manage the sellers." That sounds fair. It may also be a terrible decision. This idea has a name: the Peter Principle. It was popularized in 1969 by Lawrence J. Peter and Raymond Hull. In a hierarchy, people are promoted while they perform well. Eventually, some reach a role that doesn't suit them. Their strong performance stops, so their promotions stop too. They remain in the first job where they're no longer good enough to move higher. In plain English, success keeps pushing you upward until the job changes into something you can't do. The principle doesn't say every manager is stupid. It says the system can take a capable person, move them away from the work they understand, and leave them stranded in a role requiring abilities they were never tested for. Think about a great teacher becoming a school administrator. Teaching a difficult class and running a budget are not the same thing. Or take an excellent engineer becoming a department head. Solving a technical problem and managing 15 humans with 15 different problems are not the same thing. The employee didn't lose intelligence. The company changed the exam. Now, you may be thinking, this is just a funny old theory. Where's the evidence? One large study examined 38,843 sales workers across 131 American firms between 2005 and 2011. Of those workers, 1,553 were promoted into management. The researchers found that stronger sales performance made promotion more likely. But workers with higher sales before promotion tended to add less value to the sales performance of the people they later managed. The researchers also looked at collaboration, meaning how often a salesperson shared credit and worked with colleagues on deals. That experience was more useful for predicting management performance, but companies did not reward it consistently. The so-called lone wolves, people who mostly worked alone, were more likely to be promoted and tended to perform worse as managers. That is a very specific failure. Companies had one signal showing who produced the most individually, and another signal hinting at who might help a team perform. They placed more weight on the first one. The study even estimated that a promotion rule focused purely on expected management quality could have raised average manager quality by around 30% in its sample. That doesn't mean every company could gain 30%. It does show that choosing the best worker and choosing the best manager are not automatically the same decision. But why would companies keep making that mistake once they can see it? Because promotion does two jobs at once. The first job is staffing. The company needs someone to manage the team. The second job is motivation. Promotion is the prize that tells everyone below, perform well, and you can move up. Those two goals can clash. Suppose the top salesperson gets passed over and a quieter colleague who coaches others gets the manager role. The company may have selected the better future manager, but the sales team may see favoritism. They may ask why they should chase the highest target if the highest target doesn't lead anywhere. So the company reaches for the easiest rule to defend. Highest results, biggest promotion. It is simple. It looks fair. Everyone understands it. And it can quietly produce the wrong boss. Why not simply pay top performers more? Because promotions bring status, authority, a stronger title. A larger bonus says you had a good year. A promotion says the organization believes you belong above other people. Those rewards do not feel equal. There's also a more cynical explanation, usually called the Dilbert principle. The joke is that companies move ineffective workers into management because that is where they can do the least damage to actual production. It's funny because it feels familiar, but I want to be careful here. There's strong evidence that some companies put too much weight on the wrong signals. There is much less evidence that executives routinely gather in a room and deliberately choose the most useless person available. Bad systems do not require evil masterminds. They only require people choosing the easiest option. Put yourself in a senior leader's chair. You have two candidates. One is highly capable, openly disagrees with you, asks difficult questions, and may expose problems you would rather not explain. The other is less capable but predictable, pleasant, loyal, and excellent at making updates sound reassuring. Which candidate feels safer at the moment of decision? The answer may not be the person who creates the most value below. It may be the person who creates the least anxiety above. That is where managing up becomes powerful. Managing up means understanding what your boss wants to hear when they want to hear it and how to present your work so they feel confident in you. Some of this is genuinely useful. A person who cannot communicate with senior leaders may struggle in a larger role, but visibility can become a substitute for value. The worker quietly preventing 10 problems may look less impressive than the worker loudly announcing that they solved one. The person preparing the slides can appear more important than the people producing the numbers inside them. Companies often say they reward impact. What they can actually see is performance theater. Then there is the indispensable worker trap. Imagine one employee is doing the work of 1.5 people. Moving that person creates a painful hole. Their replacement needs training, clients may complain, and results may dip. Another employee is merely adequate and easier to replace. Who is easier to promote tomorrow? Sometimes the weaker worker moves because the stronger worker is too useful where they are. Nobody needs to announce this policy. The pressure appears naturally. The manager protects this quarter's numbers. The promotion solves an immediate vacancy, and a high performer receives another compliment instead of another title. That is not a reward system. It is a hostage situation with an Employee of the Month certificate. But let's not turn every disappointing promotion into proof of incompetence. Management work is less visible than frontline work. A manager may spend hours preventing conflicts, securing resources, absorbing pressure from above, or protecting the team from demands that never reach them. From the outside, that can look like doing nothing. A technically weaker manager can also lead a stronger team by delegating well. They do not need to be the smartest engineer or strongest salesperson. Their job is to make the group work better, not defeat every employee in a contest. That distinction matters because otherwise we make the exact same mistake as the company. We judge the manager by the skills of the old job. The real question isn't, can this boss do my work better than me? It is, does this boss make the team better than it would be without them? And that is harder to measure. Sales numbers arrive every month. A manager's effect may take a year to appear. Did people improve? Did strong employees stay? Did errors fall? Did the team become more honest about bad news? Those results are slower, messier, and harder to connect to one person. When measurement is difficult, companies fall back on what is easy to count. That is how a spreadsheet creates a leadership problem. The cost is much larger than one painful meeting. The latest global workplace data says only 20% of employees were engaged at work in 2025. Manager engagement was only 22%. Low engagement was estimated to cost the world economy around $10 trillion in lost productivity. Those numbers do not prove that bad promotion decisions cause the entire problem. Workload, pay, restructuring, and many other pressures matter too. But managers have enormous influence over whether employees understand their work, feel recognized, and believe effort leads somewhere. Long-running workplace research estimates that managers account for about 70% of the variation in engagement between teams. So when a company chooses the wrong manager, it does not simply misplace one's salary. It changes the daily reality of everyone below that person. Who wins from this system? In the short term, senior leaders get familiar, low-risk choices. Politically skilled employees get status. Companies preserve a promotion rule that looks clear and fair. Nobody has to explain why the highest performer was rejected. Who loses? Strong workers can be pushed into roles they dislike. Better potential managers can be overlooked because their contribution is quieter. Teams inherit leaders who know how to produce personally but not how to develop other people. Customers eventually experience slower decisions, weaker service, and errors that travel through 5 meetings before anyone owns them. And the incompetent manager may lose too. Imagine being promoted into a job you cannot perform, while everyone below can see you struggling. You protect yourself. You avoid difficult decisions. You add meetings because meetings look like management. You request more reports because reports create the feeling of control. Then you surround yourself with coordinators, advisors, and project trackers to compensate for work that the role was supposed to handle directly. The bureaucracy becomes a support system for the promotion mistake. And this is how some organizations can end up growing extra layers around weak leaders. Instead of moving one person, they add people to translate, organize, and quietly repair. From outside, the company looks more sophisticated. Inside, everyone knows who cannot be left alone with the problem. So, does the famous computer simulation prove companies should promote people randomly? No. A 2009 model found that under certain assumptions, random promotion could outperform always promoting the most competent person. But it was a simplified model. Its important message was not choose names from a hat. It was that past competence becomes a weak guide when the next job requires unrelated skills. The model makes one hidden assumption visible. Being great today predicts being great after the job changes. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. What happens next? I don't think companies will abandon performance-based promotion. It is too easy to explain, and employees still want visible proof that hard work leads to advancement. The more likely change is that firms slowly separate expert careers from management careers. That means a brilliant engineer, analyst, designer, or salesperson can gain pay and status without having to supervise people. Management becomes one path, not the prize at the end of every path. Some companies use this structure, but many still treat manager as the only respectable next step. I also expect more firms to test people before giving them permanent authority. A project lead role, a temporary team assignment, or evidence from people they have coached can reveal more than one strong year of output. The point is not to ignore results. It is to test the skills of the new job, not keep rewarding the old one. But here's my less comfortable prediction. Many large organizations will respond by adding support around weak managers before they change how those managers are selected. Rebuilding promotion rules creates arguments about fairness, status, and who made the old decisions. Adding another project coordinator is easier. So, I foresee the problem becoming more visible but not disappearing. Companies will talk more about leadership quality while still promoting people for measurable personal performance, confidence in meetings, and comfort with senior leaders. The signal I'd watch is whether expert roles begin receiving the same money, authority, and respect as management roles. If that gap stays wide, employees will keep chasing management even when neither they nor the company truly want them there. And I want to tell you what I actually think. Most useless bosses were not born useless. They were selected by a system that confused one kind of success with another, then protected the decision because reversing it would embarrass the people above. But some promotions are more revealing than that. When a company repeatedly chooses people who are agreeable upward and destructive downward, that is no longer an accident. It's showing you what the organization values. Not competence, not truth, comfort. The worst boss is often not the system malfunctioning. It is the system working exactly as designed. So the next time you wonder how that person ended up in charge, the answer may be less satisfying than office politics and more serious than bad luck. The company rewarded what it could measure, what it could defend, and what made life easier for the people making the choice. That's where I land. What's yours? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you got something out of this, please like, share, and subscribe. Catch you in the next video.